Class is in session. Welcome back. It is a beautiful, beautiful day today, and we're going to be talking about soft light. This is another edition of Your Lighting is Bad Because, brought to you by Real Goats University. Okay, first I want to define what soft and hard lighting is. Hard lighting is when you see hard, sharp shadows in your subject. Soft light creates more of a subtle, soft shadow in your subject. There's a gradation that is created by using the soft light. Soft lighting shouldn't be confused with your lighting ratios or your contrast in your image. It's more about how flattering it looks on your subject. In this image, there's a combination of hard and soft lighting. The soft lighting is on the subject's face, which creates a more flattering, subtle look on their skin. The shadows are nice and soft, whereas on the back wall, there's a hard light from another source hitting the wall, creating a more defined hard shadow. For us, trying to learn how to just get softer light, just wanting to get a better image and look at it and say, yes, that kind of looks like what I see on TV. Even if you are using a small fixture, let's say it's a 1 foot by 1 foot panel that you found on Amazon, if you put a diffusion sheet or frame or softbox on it, it creates a more flattering image already out the gate. The one thing you do notice when you start to put diffusion in front of your light is that it almost feels like there's a reduction in light, or light is being taken away, or the intensity is gone, and maybe your camera needs more of that intensity. That's where you have to start using larger fixtures with more output so that you can soften it and still retain a good exposure on your image. So let's say right now you have one Amazon 1x1 panel and you put a softbox in front of it, and all of a sudden now you don't get as much output. If you can't afford to buy another fixture, you need to shrink your frame up and walk the light in closer. Don't go so wide with your frame. The edge of your frame is where you could put your light. You could put it right up to the edge before you can see it. So if your frame is extremely wide, you have to keep pulling your light back, which decreases your intensity. If you start to shrink your frame up a little bit and frame a little bit tighter, now you can walk your light in and get more of that output that you need. Anything between 50mm and 85mm will be easier for you to light than something at 35, 24, or 16mm. I've been in situations whenever I've been on set and I'm wanting to get this amazing wide because the venue looks so awesome, but then the lighting looks kind of funky. It's not matching, or it doesn't look that great. So I look at my gaffer, I look at my lighting, I'm wondering, do we have any more fixtures? Nope, we used them all. These are times that I've thought about my past work and I say, I shouldn't have been so wide. I should have narrowed up my frame a little bit. And although I wanted that really cool wide in terms of lighting, I think I should have, made it a little smaller. Or you're making that decision to say, you know what, I understand. I can't, get really beautiful lighting in this wide, and I'm gonna sacrifice it because the wide shot, the wide frame is more important because of the surroundings or the background or whatever creative decision that you're making in that moment. This shot is in the exact same place as the dancing sequence. I shrunk my frame up, keeping it around 50mm, and did this small move to keep my lighting look a little bit more flattering. I'm gonna stop for a second. I'm gonna talk about this video that I made for this chocolate company back in December. I was gonna be in a smaller crew and I was gonna have as many lights. I really wanted to move fast, efficient, and also maintain good soft lighting. I started to think that I wanted to use book lighting because you bounce into a white and then the light that's reflected back then goes through another diffusion sheet. And this creates one of the most beautiful soft looking lights that you can achieve. The thing was, I wasn't gonna have the crew to build this book light and make it fast and be able to be mobile. So I stumbled upon a YouTube that I thought was really cool. It was set up for 6x6. You see like him testing it out here. And it shows his examples of what he used. The one thing that I didn't like about this setup that I didn't notice in his because his ceiling was so small, but in mine, all this top that is being exposed didn't bounce back into the grid. So you see how his right here is exposed, his ceiling is still white and bouncing back through here, but mine wasn't. I had to cover the top, so I didn't really think about that until I made this. And then you can also see on the bottom here that all this light is leaking on the bottom. So unlike most soft boxes, you notice that it's all enclosed, and so no light is leaking at all. Whereas his, there's light leaking from both the bottom and top. So it's something to think about whenever you try to do this setup. This lighting is just a bit more advanced only in regards to the equipment that you have and the lighting that you have. So yes, you'll need some kind of budget. I was using Kansas Grip and Lighting if you're in the Kansas area, and they are fantastic. They had everything I needed. I only used a 720B, and I clamped right onto the roller combo stand. I was able to build everything out on this 6x6 frame, and I was able to construct this like makeshift version of what I saw on the tutorial. We got the contraption up. So it's two things. We don't have everything perfect just yet, but it's getting closer. And honestly, it's like one of those deals, like if it doesn't work, we're gonna have to scrap it. We're gonna scrap it and come up with something new. Not always will you have the space to create something like this type of book lighting. So I'm interested in figuring out maybe creating a smaller, more contained version of this. I stumbled across a more contained book light version. This is called the Westcott, the C47 book light kit. And it is $1,000 for this little guy. I feel like we can make something that's, you know, maybe $100 from Home Depot. This is pretty expensive. I would say it's very unique. It's cool. I'm sure it's portable, maybe, hopefully. We don't know. We have no clue. But yeah, that exists if you want to spend $1,000 on a book light frame. Hey, cutting real quick? You're probably on top of her, so it'd be your left hand. It's right there. And yeah, you could kind of do like that. Yeah. Perfect. That looks great. Okay. Just focus on the tattoo. Now let's switch and talk a little bit more about the thickness of your diffusion. It's so thick. One of the cool things that Lee Filters has is this example of what the lighting is doing as you increase your diffusion. So you can see here on the left, there's no filter. As you go up, on the right here, it shows you kind of what the light's doing. The softer it is, the more it spreads. If you want to contain your light, you're going to have less diffusion. If you want to let it spread and just keep softening, you go higher. And what's even cooler is wherever you set this, you can go down and you can see the equivalent. So white frost will give you this look. If I go over here, less diffusion. Hollywood frost would give you this look. If I wanted to go even deeper, I wanted to get the most diffusion out of it, it would suggest a quiet grid cloth. You see, this is all the diffusions and the different types that they offer. The website also tells you how many stops of light that it's taking away. So like I said before, as you put it in front of it, you lose intensity. As you increase the strength in your diffusion, you're losing more light. When I'm choosing my diffusion sheets, it's more about trying to separate myself from other people and what they use or what they typically use. And that's just me wanting to make whatever I'm creating just a little bit different than someone else's. Some of the more popular versions of the diffusion that I've used in the past are Silk, 216, 250, Soft Frost, Silent Grid, and Opal. One of the more recent diffusion sheets that I've come across is called Magic Cloth. And it was a suggestion from a gaffer when I was working out in North Carolina. I hadn't used it before, and I was really curious when I was doing interviews how to get the most soft, most like beautiful lighting that I could get for my interviews. And they had suggested that. They said they had it. And I looked into it and I was like, yeah, let's rock it out. You know, usually I would go with like a quarter silent grid or quarter grid, which is often what I use in LA. So when I seen what Magic Cloth did to the subject and how beautiful and soft the light was, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to use this more often. This is some iPhone footage I was taking on set just to kind of remind me of my lighting setups. I got my wide shot on the left and my tight shot on the right. That's a key grip and gaffer setting up a white bounce board there on the right side of the subject. You see my key light going through Magic Cloth and Light Matte 2L, just pushing that light around a little bit more. And this light looks absolutely beautiful. You see how soft and beautiful and that is, and because that frame is so big, his eye light looks amazing. In the background, you see some cold tones, and that's just really just popping in some accent lighting in the back to kind of bring him up. You see the exact same setup here in a different room, the 600C going through Magic Cloth in the back, and then you got that 2L again closest to us. And I'm using that 2L really mainly just to pull the light around and give him that eye light. I'm adjusting that 2L just ever so slightly, pulling it to the left to kind of come over on the left side of his face here. And I actually had to end up using negative fill in this room because it's such a big space. and I pulled it as far as I could to the subject before I started entering my frame, both on my close-up and my wide. And you see what the wide looks like. It looks so beautiful. Again, having some accent lights in the back, just popping up the background. But man, that diffusion makes the skin glow so much. Some of the things you start to notice about the lighting crew is that they always use these really big and large frames when they can. There's often 6x6s, 8x8s, 12x12s, or 20x20s. Their goal is always to get it as natural looking as possible. They're trying to recreate what the sun is doing outside whenever it's bouncing around and coming through your windows. A lot of times, all the reflective light that you get out of the sun is what makes it look so beautiful and natural. It's soft because it's bouncing all over the place and coming back to you.
We got 220Ks.
220Ks. Hold on. 220Ks right there.
As our key. Vortex 8 for Phil. Got a James Rico. Tungsten back. Pinging off to a mirror of like that hard
Quite a
light.
few of them. They're gonna use.
And 3, 2, 1, action.
This is again why we like soft lighting, because the sun itself, whenever you see it, not direct but indirect, looks so beautiful. The only time you're ever getting really beautiful light out of the sun is in the early mornings or at sunsets, and you're seeing the light to start to soften out. Or think about when you get partly cloudy days, not fully cloudy days because the light is all soft, which is a little bit flat, but partly cloudy days where there is still some hard light here and there, but then there's every now and again a soft cloud that comes in front of it and your skin looks great. And then you put your camera up and you start saying, this lighting looks amazing, right? We're just trying to recreate what the sun is doing. So key things to remember. Whenever you get a light, make sure there's some kind of diffusion with it. A lot of times they're sold with soft boxes. So fork up the extra money, get the soft box. You will not regret it. If you don't have soft boxes, you could also just get gels. Those gels can be purchased anywhere, all over the place. Amazon has cheap ones. B&H has cheap ones, right? There's no excuse to why you can't soften your light. Spending the extra cash on diffusing a light will make your video that much better and one step closer to getting a more beautiful image. So invest in yourself. Hope you look forward to the next episode, because the next episode I'm excited about. We're going to talk about light metering and how that's going to change the way you light. If you're curious to know, my key light is at 2.8. My top light or back edge or backlight is at 2.8. This light that you see back behind me that's hitting this black, that's illuminating the black because it's so dark and deep, that is at 2.8. If you're wondering what that lamp is that's hitting the wall, that's at 2.8. And if you're wondering what those shadows are in the back or the shadow inside of my head, those are 2 stops down, so about a 1.4. Now, you gotta tune into the next episode to really understand what that is. But if you're curious, hey, come back. Thanks again for watching this episode of Your Lighting is Bad Because You're Not Softening Your Light. Peace.